All right, and we're back for the third segment. For those of you listening on Saturday, this is going to. You've just heard my voice like 3 seconds ago. But for those of
Yep.
you listening on Friday, it's been 2 days. We're
Thank God
back.
it's Friday.
So, the whole idea of this third segment is we wanted it to be sort of a wild card. So some weeks we might I don't know. It might be like, hey, we're gonna play this game beforehand and then just immediately give our thoughts on it, having not talked about it. Or it might be us just deciding to talk about food. Or it could be us talking about drinks we like. It could be us talking about like I don't know,
Madness,
running.
chaos, intrigue.
It could be literally anything. I wanted this to be a wild card. It could also just be free discussion. If we don't have something planned, we might just talk about whatever we feel like, whatever's on our minds. Could be
Yep.
news. Um,
Yeah, some things are going to be more intense than other things. Some things are just. I keep using the word thing.
Free-form discussion.
Uh, Topics that are just totally freaking random things that I was thinking about, and I was like, maybe there's a conversation in there somewhere.
So, for a very good
The,
reason, this first segment is going to be of Blue's choosing. And the very good reason is I spent all of this week on a beach in the sun and doing no work because I was on vacation. So I didn't have time to think about this. So
Calling
Blue,
me in the middle of the night, slightly drunk.
that did happen. That did happen. I was sunburnt and tanned and listening to the soft music, and I was like, I just
Yeah.
need to talk to my good friend Blue.
Aw. Yep. So did do you also have topics for this section or
So
not?
I have no topics. I have nothing at all
Okay.
planned for this. So I want you
Alrighty.
to lead us in. Tell us what we are going to be talking about.
Okay. Well, okay. To start it off, probably one of the weirder things that I have on my list. I was watching a program yesterday, and it was a dietary program. Sounds boring as heck, right? And to be
Yeah.
fair, it was pretty boring, especially to a guy who is,
Yeah,
well,
you're basically
I,
ramrod thin.
I am very, yes, pretty dangerously so, but beside the point. So there was a person who was like some kind of food counselor, right? He was sat with these two people,
Yeah.
and he was there were these raisins, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And each person had a raisin. The counselor was like, right, the raisin is something you want. I want you to savor the raisin by, first of all, just give it a sniff, right? Close your eyes, just sniff the raisin. Now just like put it delicately on your lips and move it back and forth. It's a freaking raisin.
What?
Ah! Like, I get the idea of savoring something nice, but feeling the feng shi of a raisin,
Feng shui is the word.
it's ridiculous. Like, enjoy a piece of chocolate every so often. Your reward can be a single piece of chocolate as opposed to a bar of chocolate. You
Yeah.
still feel the reward of eating the chocolate, and you would naturally eat it slower because you know it's the only one and you're enjoying and savoring the taste.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't give it a freaking raisin blowjob before you eat. Sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that, but
It doesn't matter. I'm not publishing these videos
ah,
as safe for children.
yeah, good. Okay. Before you eat it, that's just madness. Is it?
I so this is actually something that I can go into too. I think we can actually safely talk about this for quite a long time.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. That is fucking insane. But there's a trend of like people doing all the it's like these lifestyle videos, right?
Yeah.
Like the dietary video, the sniff it, taste it, give it a
Yeah,
little
but
lick
like
and then eat it.
that was another thing. Lick it. Like it's a raisin. It doesn't have a. Mm.
Not the outside, at least. Yeah, you're right. You bite into it. Actually, I do like raisins.
I don't like raisins, but I mean that's beside the point. Like even if it was a piece of chocolate, if I people say that you meant to like let chocolate melt inside your mouth, and I can understand that, but At the same time, I like to savor things. I don't like to wait a million years for it to melt.
I
Can't
think
take that.
what we're talking about is like connoisseurship at that point. So
Sewer ship?
connoisseurship,
I don't know. What?
like a connoisseur, somebody who's
Oh, connoisseur. Right, yes, sorry.
yeah. Sorry, I think my mic was cutting out there for you a little bit. The
I was like,
Studio One.
sewer shit?
So another little background detail. I'm using a studio mic to record myself, but I'm using a headset mic for Blue to hear me. So occasionally I cut out for him, but not for you. So, sorry about that.
It's alright. But yes, go on.
So, but I think that there's a lot to that. Like you hear people talking about like any sort of indulgence, whether it's food, booze, something you smoke, anything you really enjoy, really. Like something that's not necessary for life, but is an indulgence. So, like, I personally, most of the people listening to this probably know this at this point because our audience is localized to friends and family at this point.
Yeah.
I enjoy whiskey. I really do. And there's a way to, like, you have to add, like, most whiskeys, you're supposed to add, like, a little bit of water. Either it's through ice or just, like, a drop of, like, pretty purified water. To bring out most of the flavor, and then you sip it. You're supposed to roll it around in your mouth a little bit, enjoy like the flavors developing, and then drink it down, and then you feel like more flavors developing as it goes down your throat.
Yeah, I'm not.
But
that
the
good.
same is true for like wine. Like they actually have a what is it? They're called sommeliers, right? Those people who just like they know wine, they smell it and they taste it and everything
It
like
tastes oaky.
that. Exactly.
Yeah.
I detect notes of cinnamon.
Yes, I remember this story. Go on.
Do you want me to tell it? All right, fine. So he's heard this story before, but we had a running joke back in college. One of our friends, big wine aficionado, or wine aficionado in training, I guess you'd say, because this was college. And we had a prank planned where we would just walk out to him like while he's at a party or at some kind of gathering, and go like, hey, and he'd look over and we'd have like a bottle of really cheap wine and just pour it over our heads with our head tipped up and just covered in wine, just look back at him and go like, I taste notes of cinnamon. Because he hated that phrase. He absolutely hated the I detect notes of cinnamon because everyone says that about wine, apparently. Like most of the amateur critics of it. But it's true, though. Like every sort of brand of a thing like that, you get people who smoke cigars. They say you have to puff in and then like roll the smoke around in your mouth. You don't breathe it in and then you blow it out. You would just enjoy the flavor.
I would say I say that kind of stuff in a far more fun way. So there is actually, whenever you mention cinnamon, there is you know how much I love rum.
Yes.
There is a rum that tastes, as I put it, like Christmas. And cinnamon and Christmas, basically the same thing.
Yeah.
And so that's how I would describe something. I was like, oh, the Christmassy drink, as opposed to notes of cinnamon.
I taste cardamom and fresh spring grass or something like that. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I think that there's way too much fluff around those types of descriptions. I'm the same way.
More of a wine thing. Like people go into wine sometimes because they want to have the upper class. I don't know. I don't want to sound like an asshole that hates wine people. I don't hate wine people. Drink wine.
But I mean, seriously, take it down a notch. I hate wine people. Fuck off.
I thought you were talking about me. Oh, okay, shit.
No. I was talking to all the wine people out there.
Oh, okay. Damn. Did your parents drink wine?
No. My dad's a beer guy and my mom's a whiskey person.
Nice.
My mom's the person who got me into whiskey. Like she was And like she's probably the reason that I didn't go to college and immediately start like throwing back like cheap shit. Like
Yeah.
when I started drinking in college, I had like what was it, like Dewar's, Pinch, like these blended Scotch whiskeys. They're not like super fancy, but they're definitely better than like fucking Fireball or Jack Daniels or something like that.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, Jack Daniels has come out with some pretty some nicer stuff. Gentleman Jack, Single Barrel. We could just honestly, this is we're going deep into different kinds of booze at this point. But the point is, the point is there's these indulgences, whether it's wine, cigars. Now there's even becoming like a marijuana aficionado community. You go into these and people tend to be very what is it, pretentious.
Yeah.
And I don't think it just applies to like intoxicants. I think it also tends to apply to. I mean, you get the same thing with coffee actually. Like these are black Himalayan beans or something like that. They were grown at this altitude with only this much water or something. And I don't doubt that affects the flavor. But I feel like people. I had a coworker who got into this with spices for cooking. He's like, I only get the most like freshly ground, locally grown cumin seeds or something like that.
Right. Does it? I mean, I'm sure it does taste better because that's what you always hear. But is it really that much more amazing if it's locally grown?
I personally, this is my experience with it because I use only the cheapest spices in my cooking.
Yeah, I am a bit of a skimp for that kind of thing as well.
I don't find enough of a difference. I have gotten nice spices before and tried it, and if you really like know your food, you can tell the difference. So for me, like between like a nice whiskey and a cheap whiskey, I drink a lot of whiskeys, so I can tell the difference. Like I have like a glass of 18-year-old scotch versus a glass of young blended scotch, and you can tell one is harsher, one like has like one flavor and then it goes down and it goes away. The other one has like a very smooth taste to it. It doesn't burn your throat, and if it does burn your throat, it comes with these like pleasant flavors that are released. And from what I'm
delicious burning.
but some of the scotches you actually want that, like Isla scotches. Wines, from the friends that I have that drink those, like it's a similar thing. Like after you've had the experience to kind of taste a bunch of them and develop your palate. But the thing is, if you eat a lot of spicy food, that kind of destroys your palate anyway. So wines have a much more subtle flavor. So the sommeliers, the people I was talking about earlier, the people who professionally taste wine, which by the way, that is a racket.
Right. I mean, I was thinking it, but I wasn't gonna say it.
So the people that do that, they purposely avoid foods with very strong flavors because they need to have that fully developed like ability to taste and smell things. But the people who just like do it kind of amateurishly, I don't think it really makes a massive difference. I didn't find a difference with the spices. Like maybe if you have that like long-standing time where you're trying different things and really looking into the subtleties, then you'll be able to ascertain that sort of difference.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the people who go for these artisanal spices, right, the local grown, there's not really that huge of a difference unless you are some kind of aficionado.
Yeah, if you really know your onions, then absolutely, I'm sure that. Okay, so a friend of mine, you've actually met, Mike and Ash, right?
Yep.
They have a bar in their apartment, and Mike makes some amazing drinks.
Yeah.
He's gone online, he's done his research, and I really mean done his research. He makes some amazing cocktails.
Yeah.
And then I go over there like a jackass and start putting absinthe with all kinds of anyway, and it's basically poison. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but when I'm that drunk, it doesn't matter. But yeah, he can make some genuinely amazing drinks. I would like high quality for going out and having a drink like that level of stuff. And he's not professionally. I'm sure if he had official, real, gone to a course and done training, then it would be just amazing. I can really taste. You really can taste the difference between an amateur throwing some
Yeah.
shots together and a professional doing it.
I
But okay, go on.
so there are three things I want to say in response to that. First,
Right.
you're absolutely right. I think this is kind of a, you know what, I'm going to say this one last, but I think there definitely is a kind of an amateur aficionado like culture developing now.
Mm.
And I want to talk about this more, but I think that the way the internet has kind of influenced things, there are people like that, people who can just decide that they have a passion about this one thing, and they can go and they can research it, and they can become quite competent in that one thing without actually having to go through all of the professional training.
Mm.
Point number two, and I realized I started this but never finished it. I was saying that, like, I can tell the difference between like a really good whiskey and a really poor whiskey, and even like, so I'll give an example. I went to a store yesterday, no, Friday, with a couple friends. Big like wine superstore, but they also had a well-developed like liquor section, and I was looking through. They had some scotches and whiskeys that I'd never seen before, and I picked up an 18-year-old scotch, meaning it was, so for those that don't know, it was distilled and then aged in barrels for 18 years before it's actually bottled. And normally that level of aging, they have a very well-developed flavor to them. And I was surprised by how cheap it was compared to most scotches of that age. I've tried it since then, and it's kind of mediocre for a scotch that old. Like, it has no complexity to the flavor. But that's kind of my point, is that I can tell that difference for scotches and for whiskeys. But when it comes to wines, I'm like, you know what? I'm having spaghetti tonight. I'll just get, this one costs $10. I'll grab that one.
Yeah.
Like,
Add a
that's,
bit of class.
yeah, exactly. So, there, it's all like within your area, and I think spices are kind of the same way for me. Like, I love cooking. I cook all the time, but
Mm.
I can't really. I don't have a very well developed palate when it comes to food. If the food is well cooked and it tastes good and it's got the
You
right
know what
spices,
you like.
yeah, exactly. I don't care if it's like, I don't care if my pepper was freshly ground or it came out of like a bottle. But that's me. I think it. This is what I'm transitioning into, and this is what I want to get your thoughts on. I think we are moving into an era where people, it used to be the people who were aficionados, the people who really cared about their food and their drink and their music and whatever else, were people that had spent the time, had done the research, had maybe gone to school for it, and had developed that palate for that item. It doesn't have to necessarily be food or drink. It could also be music or games or movies. There were people who had that critical eye. Now, I think with the advent of the internet, you're seeing people who have developed these sort of complex tastes, not for everything, but for the things that they specifically care about. I want your
Yeah.
thoughts.
Well, hang on. Sorry. So my mind's been wandering.
No worries.
It's third coffee. Um, I. So you're talking about the
I'm talking about like, so you were talking about your friend, right? How he was like very proficient at making
Yeah.
these drinks with the right proportions, with the right booze. He did that as an amateur.
Hmm.
And I was talking about a coworker who did the same thing with cooking. Like he got the right spices with the right meat with the high quality.
Right.
But that same friend you're talking about, he probably or may have like kind of mediocre tastes when it comes to movies or when it comes to like chicken or
Yes.
something like that.
I mean,
The
I don't
friend
wanna
I'm
bash
talking
him.
about, I know the friend I'm talking about. I know for a fact he had like terrible tastes in liquor. He had terrible tastes in movies, but he had very proficient tastes when it came to spices and cooking. So what I'm saying is I think the internet has kind of given us
Right.
an
Yes.
age
Sorry.
where people can become an artisan in one very specific thing that they
Yeah.
it isn't their whole
Jack of all
life.
trades, master of none. That kind of thing. Be great at one thing and suck at everything else, or
Right.
you could be pretty good at everything.
But it doesn't necessarily but in a hobbyist way.
Regarding his movie choices, 'cause I have been to a few movies with him.
Yeah.
Quite often we'll go into the movie, and it'll be a kind of the AAA games equivalent of. Do you get AAA movies?
I mean,
Is that a thing?
technically, yeah. I think that's the big name. When I think AAA,
Yeah.
AAA isn't really the way they describe it, but it's like the Marvel movies versus
Yes.
like
Well,
the
the Marvel
boys.
movie was one of the ones I was going to mention because that is one of the things that we went and saw. And he came out of it and he was like, "Yeah, I really enjoyed that," and I was like, "I'm a bit critical, and I don't want to drag him down with my opinions."
Yeah.
Because he obviously enjoyed the movie, but he doesn't have too much to say about them, and maybe I go into too much. I think about these things too much. Maybe I'm just a mouthy git
But
whose opinions shouldn't be said. But
yeah,
I mean, that's what this is. This is me us voicing our opinions on the irks and the
Yeah.
pleasures of life.
again, the whole appeal, I hope, of this podcast is people listening to it and going like, "These people don't know shit," or "Hey, I agree
Yeah.
with that."
Yeah.
That's what I want. If you
Maybe
agree
someone
with this, or if you think we're full of shit, I'm sorry, I just burped into the microphone. If
Oh, I
you,
didn't actually
if
hear
you
it.
agree with us, or if you think we're full of shit, say it in the comments.
Yeah. Tell us particularly if you think we're full of no. But yeah, no. We're obviously very opinionated.
Yeah.
Maybe everyone else is too, and they just don't like speaking their mind as much.
Mhm.
And then in the hive, we're quite a close knit bunch, and
Yeah.
we'll
So
definitely speak our mind.
yeah, but to bring that back though, you're talking about like some there are things. What you're talking about there, like, kind of goes along with what I was kind of leading towards. You both watched that movie. He was able to watch it as what it was, just like a popcorn action flick. It's not necessarily satisfying, like it doesn't touch your higher brain so much, but it's entertaining. There's explosions and flashes, and it's like that was cool to watch. You, on the other hand, you're looking at it with a little bit more of a critical eye. You've seen some maybe higher quality movies and things.
Am I a wine aficionado snob? But for
You,
movies?
you apparently.
Oh my god. No.
That's what happened. Oh my god.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, right now you've witnessed it firsthand. I'm kicking Blue off the podcast, and I'm going to have to find somebody who's a little bit more of a Neanderthal like me.
Oh, come on. Like, you don't complain about movies all the time.
I do, actually. That's why we have an entire segment called Media.
Yes, and why we watch movies every week.
Yeah.
But moving it on slightly to another topic.
Go ahead.
Something perfect for after you had a drink, or maybe during. Monopoly.
Oh, God.
The game known for breaking people up, destroying families. Oh shit! I spilled coffee on myself. Well, the worst thing is it was on my trousers, and the first thing I thought was maybe I can suck that up.
All
I'm like,
right,
wait, no, that'd be
so
weird.
thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I now have a podcast host who is a eunuch.
Shut up. Um,
This goes back to what I was saying earlier, where this podcast gets more and more chaotic as it goes
yes.
on.
Well, after 3 coffees, what are you fucking expecting?
I don't know. I've
Monopoly.
gotten a little bit more professional after, a scotch.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll talk about that. It's become a tradition now. Whenever I go around Ease, that we play Monopoly literally every day now.
Jesus Christ! How do you fucking stay together?
Well, the funny thing is, it's I think we're playing up till until the day when when E manages to win a game.
Does she listen to these?
She does, and I'm gonna get so much flack for this, but it's a great deal of fun, and I am so proud of her for sticking with it, because I am horribly competitive.
Oh yeah,
and Monopoly is one of the most competitive games you can play.
I think so am I.
Yes, I mean, the three of us played Monopoly once, and I was playing in VR, which is damning enough as is. Anyway, so not only are we playing Monopoly.
Yeah, there you go. That's a word.
We're playing the Disney version.
Oh God,
that's the one that they have at their house, and so I know that their favorite tile is Beauty and the Beast, right? So if I manage to get my hands on Beauty and the Beast, it's like a free do whatever I want. Oh shit, I just spilled so much coffee. Alright, I gotta put this down, sorry. Oh, I actually need a tissue for this. There is so much coffee on me right now.
Alright, I'll fill while you clean yourself up.
Thank you, yes.
So, this is reminding me of another story. So from my childhood, I played Monopoly quite a bit with my family, but although when I was growing up, my family tended to play more games that you could gamble to. I remember playing cribbage a lot when I was growing up.
All right, I've heard of cribbage.
Oh, it's actually a lot of fun. My dad loved that game. Right. So, but that game aside, we did play Monopoly a few times, and I feel like my parents let me have a few indulgences, but they were kind of ruthless when we played the game.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, just knowing
knowing the parents that they generally were, but I was like 6, so they kind of let some stuff go.
All the more reason.
I was like trying to make this trade, and they're like, all right, I'll do it I give you slightly favorable terms. I don't know. I did like that about my parents. They didn't pull a lot of punches when we were playing games. But I did with my one of my very close friends. I've known her my whole life. I won't say her name on this because I have no idea if she actually wants her name out on the internet.
Yeah.
But she and I used to play a version of Monopoly, and it was a lot of fun as like a creative endeavor. We called it Monopoly as like a joke. This was when we were both in middle school, and we would just essentially the rules were fluid. We started with the Monopoly rules, and we were allowed to change them at any point during the game.
Yeah.
So it was like, I made one of the rules I made first off, like right off the bat, was I made the middle of the board a space, and we allowed skyscrapers instead of just like houses, so we could stack the houses.
Right. I see.
And we did we made up all these rules, and it devolved into an arena combat game by the end of the game. But when you're talking about playing Monopoly, that was the story I was thinking of. Is like we managed to take Monopoly and make it
a first-person shooter or something.
We made it more competitive. Just like you've never met her or talked to her, but like. No. She's almost as competitive as I am.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I say almost, and I think that she might contest that.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's competitive. If she's as competitive as you say she is, then she will compete for it.
Oh man, yeah, very
Fantastic.
yeah, but very good for it. But we played Monopoly a few times, and getting tired of the
Hmm.
basic rules, we decided to change them and just have like a free
Oh,
form kind of.
everyone's got their own rules.
That is house rules are something. When I actually played the real version of Monopoly for the first time, because every version I played before had house rules. When I
Yeah.
played the real version for the first time, I was shocked at how quickly the game went.
Really? I mean, even when we played chess, Monopoly, like you're, as you know, you're stubborn as heck,
Of
and
course I am.
you're like, no, the rules I play by are the original rules, and you can just we're playing it that way. Um,
Well, and the reason is because when I discovered the real rules, I was like, holy shit, this is actually a lot faster.
right.
I was
Uh,
trying to get out of the game.
but yeah, like the whole, some people play with the taxes going into free parking, and if you land on free parking, you
Yeah.
get the money, which doesn't make any sense to me because if free, you don't, if I could go into a
Basically,
car park and get handed 2 grand,
I
I'd be, oh my god, yeah,
I honestly thought that started in Boston when I was a kid because I was like, well, it's basically just gambling. And we like the lottery is
right,
basically just part of. So, fun fact for those of you who don't listen or don't live in Massachusetts, um, the lottery is state run here, and it's a basically just a giant like spin the wheel and see who wins the money. They throw out like different numbers, and if you get all the numbers right, then you get a bunch of money. I
I mean that's the lottery in general, isn't it?
It depends.
Right, okay, go on.
Anyway, in Massachusetts, the lottery is like there's like five numbers. They all get pulled out of a thing. It's like 1 to 100 each of them, and then it gives you it, and you have to write them down ahead of time, and get a ticket and everything. That's our big state lottery, and pulls on like billions of dollars. I just assumed that like that rule of Monopoly was just like a gambling thing. Like,
Yeah, no,
because
it just
it's just
seems.
like if you roll right, then you get all the cash that everyone else lost.
Yeah, it seems very unbalanced because one person will get all that money and the other
It's luck
person
based.
will not.
It's a
I quite
hundred
often
percent luck
play with
based.
the rule that if you land on the go square, you get double the amount of money,
That
uh,
one, yeah, I kind of
which
like
is
that one too because
kind of okay
it's not a huge
because
impact.
yeah, and if you, it's not that one person gets loads of money and the other person doesn't. You can both land on it at the same time
Yeah,
and both get double the cash.
it's not a
Uh,
jackpot sort of situation.
No, and if you then go on to land on the negative 200 cash, it's like four squaces, four spaces or squares. I'm doing that
Jesus
so
Christ.
much onto the board, then you just end up with plus 200, which is the normal thing anyway. Um, oh my god, it was so mean though. I did it today, this morning,
Oh
because
God,
we
but
weren't able
you
to
were
do it
playing
the night
Monopoly
before.
today.
Yeah, this morning we woke up and played Monopoly.
Oh
Um,
my God, that is a way to start like a day long fight right there.
and oh, it was so unlucky. By the end of it, E does not like putting risk out. So I will mortgage things to buy properties and things like
Okay.
that. E will always have about 100 in the bank before she does anything.
Yeah.
So I had castles instead of hotels, because it's Disney,
Yeah.
on all three of the red tiles and the two brown tiles, and she did not have a house down yet because I was being really, really stingy about my trades. So every so often I always went either you're in the deep shit or the other person's in deep shit, where I'm like, you want to do a trade? I got a card here you might like, kind of thing.
So, God damn it.
And even though the trade was really good for her, she would just look at me, flip me the bird, and say, "No, fuck you."
So this segment has quickly transitioned into just like stories from our daily lives. But there
Well,
is
yes.
one thing that I want to talk about on that point.
Go
You
on.
would absolutely You probably would fit in a lot better with the sort of Monopoly games that I played with my college friends.
Right.
Us all being like engineers and several of us like having minds for finance.
Yeah.
We would do things like, all right, you have this purple, property. I have the other purple property. So I'll trade it to you for $100 now, immunity to this property over here, and a 10%
Yeah.
increase or 10%
Yeah.
revenue from this property over here. Like we would do deals like that you would need to like write down on
And
paper and actually remember like, hey, you
I
landed
never did
there.
percentages like that, but quite often there's a thing where it's like, tell you what, I will give you this property, and I won't even make you pay for it, even though you've just landed on it. I won't make you pay for it, but you've got to give me these three cheap ones.
Yeah, yeah. Or like,
Exchange.
you have immunity to this property, but I want, half your revenue from
Yeah.
that property. Like I would do like we used to do deals like that, and the rules allow it. That's in the base rules of Monopoly. You're allowed to make whatever deals you want to make.
Yeah.
Like I
Oh,
love that sort of thing. I love it.
did you ever do the mortgaging asshole trick?
Oh, what did
That is to say, you like. I did this with Alicia, but I actually took it back because I felt so bad about how much of a mean
Okay.
person I was.
Okay.
I mortgaged the property
Yeah.
that she needed to. Wait, did I say her actual name? Anyway, we'll cut it out.
I said her.
We'll
I
have
said
to
her
do it.
actual name earlier too, but her last
Okay,
name is.
well,
I've said several people's actual name, but we've only used first names. So
Okay, we're gonna need to, I'm afraid. Just
I'll remind me when I'm doing the editing. I'll bleep them.
Okay. So back to it. I mortgaged a property, and then later on, I was like, "Oh, I want that property you have. I'll trade it for the property that I have that you want of mine." So I'll make the trade, and she'll be like, she'll put it face up on her side, and I'm like, "No, no, 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 that's mortgaged. You have to pay for that to unmortgage it before you can do anything with it."
Oh my god.
And she was like, "What the fuck?" I'm
I
like,
mean,
okay,
I did that
yeah,
all the
that's pretty
time.
mean.
I did that all the time, but like I was up front. I was a little bit more upfront about it. Just like, like the trade would be like kind of half price if it was mortgage.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, so we're coming up on 40 minutes here for the last segment. There's some bits that I think we've talked about that I have to either bleep or edit out.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts, because we are ending the first real podcast.
Right, yes. I I don't know, all I can think about is chocolate dinosaurs.
I mean, that's as good a final thought as I could imagine.
I mean, yeah, okay, I just got home today from where I've been, and there was a chocolate dinosaur. And now that's just stuck in my mind because it's on my desk.
Jesus Christ. All right. So, final thoughts on my end. I think that we've found that we can talk much more about movies than I ever thought, because I'm not a big movie person. Like, we watch movies and TV shows and things like that.
Same with
Obviously.
books, I think.
Yeah, books, surprisingly as well. Like, I thought that most of our content was going to end up being talking about games, because we do play a lot of games. But apparently, apparently the two of us have also consumed quite a bit of movie and book media.
We're so cultured.
Apparently, Jesus. And we even had a segment where we're talking about, like, wine and spices and food and things like that. God.
Yeah.
We really are the greatest human beings on Earth.
Ah, right. And now someone is going to make a video in response where they correct all the mistakes we've made, and it'll be twice the length of this.
You've just described YouTube in a nutshell.
Yeah.
All right. So we're coming up on the end of this segment. I want to thank everyone who is listening for listening. If you're listening again on Friday, this will be the final segment. But if you're listening on Saturday, this is also the final segment. No matter what's going on in your life, this is the end of the podcast. We're going to do another one of these next week. I hope you enjoyed it, and please come back and listen to us again.